He said, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in there and I'm going to give you a hug. I said, you're not going to touch me. You got a badge on. You ain't going to touch me. That's against your policy and it's against mine. And so he said, what are you going to do? Assault me? Lose your date?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
I spent my last 12 years at South Central Correctional Center. It's the main part of it is a maximum security prison, level 5s. Outside of it, they got, but kind of connected to it, they got work release. That's for those about to go home. And so, I knew everybody there. I worked in recreation, so I got the, only certain housing units that out at the time they'd only let, there's 2 fields, 2 yards, and they'd let one housing unit out and one on another, and one also had the gym. But because I worked in recreation, I seen people from all the housing units. So anyway, I get a pro hearing. Was it May? No, it was June of 2015. Then there's I was pretty positive about it, that this was my 6th parole hearing. Of course, that don't mean anything when you have a life sentence, but I was pretty positive about it. My cellie, who known me for a long time, said, hey man, it's good to get your hopes up, hope for the best, expect the worst, But anyway, so you have to wait 2 to 8 weeks or something like that, for an answer. Finally, after about 6 weeks, I think, 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in there, I can't really remember. Right when they was calling lockdown at 11 o'clock, they also called me to the caseworker's office. When I get back there, the IPO, institutional parole officer, was standing in the doorway of the caseworker's office. He tells me, and he'd been reading for me, to get a date. And he tells me, this is hot off the press, I wanted to give it to you, So it was my date, and, I was excited and everything, And so I go back, and I tell my cellie. But when they called lunch, after they counted and they called lunch, everybody was coming up to me, people that I knew and stuff, and they said, what'd they call you for, But really, if I said nothing, they might get suspicious. So I told a few of my people I hung around with. Well, before, it's like a day or so, it was all over the camp. Guards, staff, everybody knew it, and people was congratulating me. There was one instance when we was on the yard, me and a group of people were, and we seen this other group, and there's this one guy, he didn't really like me. I didn't really like him either, But he starts walking towards me. I thought, oh man, So I start walking towards him. I told the guys, kind of watch my back, make sure nobody else gets involved in this, if something happens. But he walks up to me and he has these shades on. And he stares at me a long time. And he takes them off and he says, you and I, we just never clicked. But he said, we've done a lot of time together. Heard you got a date, man. He said, take your ass home and don't come back. And put his fist up for a fist bump, So that just kind of shocked me. And he walked off. And another thing that happened is that, I didn't talk to too many guards, Well, I would talk to them, like, hey, what's up or whatever, if they was cool. But I didn't spend a lot of time talking to them. But this one comes by the cell, and when they open the wing, he's just making his round. And he said, I heard you got a date. And I said, yeah, everybody's heard it. I think China's heard it too. He said, well, I'll be back in a minute. What the hell for, So he makes his round and he comes back down there. He said, now here's what's going to happen. He said, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in there and I'm going to give you a hug. I said, you're not going to touch me. You got a badge on. You ain't going to touch me. That's against your policy and it's against mine. So he said, what are you going to do? Assault me? Lose your date? he comes in there and gives me a big bear hug and picks me up, puts me, my cell, and because the cell door was open, people was out in the wing. They's all laughing. I didn't think it was too funny at the time. And he leaves, and as he's leaving, he just kind of laughs at himself, and he says, get over it. He used some other words too, but anyway, my cellie and all of them was laughing. I said, man, that was not cool at all. And they said, hey, man, we ain't tripping on that, man. We know you. I said, man, it still wasn't cool. The caseworker, I didn't know that they put people in the hole when they got a date, if they got dropped low enough. But he had forgotten about it. Well, they switched caseworkers, put him in 5 house and brought another one up from 3 house. So I'd been on the yard about 2 weeks after I got a date. All of a sudden, I get called to the caseworker's office. I go back there, and he goes, pack your shit. You're going to the hole. I said, what? What'd I do? He goes, you haven't done anything. He says, we're putting you in one house. Now, one house is over by medical. It's kind of connected to it. And it's for long-term segregation, and it's single-man cells. I said, I don't understand. He said, you're in a level 5 camp. Everybody here is level 5s, and you just got dropped to a 1. We cannot have you out in the yard. And I said, look, can I sign a waiver or something, They said, no. If something was to happen to you, if you was to go out here and get in a fight or something, get hurt, your family and loved ones could sue us, and we would lose. I said, I've been on this camp for 12 years. I said, I don't think nothing's going to happen to me. So I went and told my cellie, I said, man, I'm going to the hole. He said, what? I said, yeah. They put me in a hole because I got a date. So anyway, I packed my stuff, and they take me over there to one house and put me in a single man cell. I mean, I was just shaking my head. I couldn't believe it. Even guards come by. They said, what'd you do? And I said, nothing. And I'd tell them, and they'd be like, what? Really? And so I'm thinking maybe we're only in there for a few days, and I'll get shipped out. I was in there almost a month. And the funny thing is, on one time, the last time I've been to the hole, well, anytime I've been to the hole before that, if you wanted a phone call, they came to your cell and they asked you, and if you said yes, they opened the check hole, you backed up, and they cuffed you up, and they took you down to this phone. It looks like a phone booth. I mean, it seemed got a cage around it, Well, they didn't do this time. I said, they asked me if I wanted a phone call, and I said yes. And so I backed up, my hands, stick them out through the check hole. They said, what the hell are you doing? I said, I want a phone call, and and you're going to take me down there? And they handed me this big phone, brick-looking thing. And I said, what's this? They said, it's the phone. They said, don't try the internet. We got it disabled. All you can use is the phone. So I said, okay. So I made a couple phone calls, And so they finally shipped me out, to Algoa Correctional Center, which is in Jefferson City. And it's on a hill. And you can see Jefferson City Correctional Center down below, the one that replaced the walls, MSP. And you look off the other hill, and you can see the Capitol and everything. I get there, and it just seemed like even the staff, I guess because some of us had come from a high level camp, they treated us a little different, at first. But they take us in this room, everybody who got there, and one at a time, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this, So they get in there, get me in there, when I go in there, and they tell me and the rest of the staff are watching this, these white shirts, sergeants and majors and captains and caseworkers and everything. We're all watching this video and PRIA, and they said, have you ever been sexually assaulted in prison? I said, no. They said, have you ever been physically assaulted? I said, well, yeah, I've gotten my ass whipped. I'm not the best fighter. And they said, well, if anything like this happens, if you're sexually assaulted or physically assaulted either by staff or inmates, come and tell us. I said, no. And they said, what do you mean, no? And I said, if that happens and I'm still alive, I'm taking care of it myself. I said, I did 29 years in high-level prisons. Ain't nobody going to do that to me in a level 1, Well, they said, we really wish you would tell us, if you do something, retaliate, you could lose your date. Really, I don't care, I mean, I did care, but I'm not going to. That's something, I have to handle, myself. And some other people may handle it differently. They may call PRIA or they may go to staff and say something, It's not me, I'm sitting here thinking, 29 years in a max prison. Yeah, I got whooped a few times, but nothing sexually happened to me. And now they'll tell me if it happens in a level 1 to come and tell them, no. And it's not going to happen in a level 1, I guarantee you. And I told them that, and they said, well, you can't make no guarantees. Well, maybe they're right about that, but, I'm just not, I can't see myself, go run and telling them. So anyway, I kind of got off the story of this. This is about me going to the hole for getting a release date. And I hope you guys enjoyed this and, share it. And I'll see you next time, Friday.